Hello and welcome to the Cyberden, your weekly dose of tech and games. I, Jake, will be chatting with some very talented people from 3D Realms and Interceptor Entertainment, the masterminds behind the upcoming isometric top-down shooter Bombshell, coming for the PC. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Hello. My name is Frederik. I'm the CEO at Interceptor. I'm CEO of Internet. I'm the CEO of Interceptor and the vice president at 3D Realms, and I'm directing Bombshell.
And I'm Chris. I'm the art director at Interceptor Entertainment. I worked on Bombshell and everything else we've done.
You direct art.
Yeah.
Art directs you.
Okay, guys. Let's talk a bit more about Bombshell then. Let's discuss, first off, the story. What's going on plot-wise?
All right. So, Bombshell takes place in present-day near future Washington. You play as Shelley Harrison, aka Bombshell. She lost her arm during something called the Washington incident, hunting down madman scientist Jadis Haskell together with her bomb squad. Unfortunately, an accident happened. She lost her entire squad and her arm, and Jadis Haskell disappeared. We fast forward to present day. She's been dismissed from the GDF, the Global Defense Forces. Suddenly, the White House is attacked by unknown alien forces, the first alien attack on Earth. And the president is captured on live TV, and Bombshell decides to step back into action with a new robotic arm made from the remnants of Jadis Haskell back from the Washington incidents. And she meets up with her old former general, General Holloway, and she gets her first mission, which is to find and save the president. Bombshell sees this as her way of redemption. Yeah. And decides to go for it, and she ends up throwing herself through a portal, and ends up on a strange world called Chiron, and that's where the story starts.
Where did you actually get the idea for Bombshell, both the character and the game being a top-down shooter?
I'll talk a bit about the game, then I'll let Chris talk about the character and her origins. But the top-down shooter thing was actually when we were done with Rise of the Triad, we talked about, let's do another first-person shooter, but we also kind of wanted to challenge ourselves. I think the top-down shooter that played as a first-person shooter, but with a new perspective, was kind of something that we all were interested in, trying to see if that's something we could do. None of us have tried making that kind of game before, so we kind of jumped into it with our own takes and ideas on the genre. And it almost became kind of like a hybrid.
Yeah, I wouldn't really call it like a twin stick or something. It's more like a third-person action game that's just had the camera raised a bit. It's so different to everything else.
Exactly. And I think, approaching it with, this is what we know we do well, which is controlling characters. We know how to do great twitch shooter mechanisms, as we did in Rise of the Triad, for instance. That was the natural approach of how do you want the game to feel. So that was basically why we decided, let's try with a new perspective.
When we started it, we wanted to go away from what you see a lot in games, which is just your stereotypical just buff guy doing something generic. We wanted something a bit more unique and interesting. So we opted for the opposite side. Female character, but having a strong character that's more defined and has actual depth rather than something that's hollow or just not very developed as well in terms of character. And so first thing, let's give a robotic arm, because that is just straight up cool. We wanted to have a multiple array of weaponry, so obviously let's make her arm turn into all these kinds of weapons. And it's assimilating into these, so you see her arm expanding and changing and stuff. But I was very driven onto when we went through the redesign, because originally she was a side character, which we then developed into a fully formed protagonist on her own. So we scrapped it all from the earlier prototype stuff that was floating around. So we went for something that was very function related. She bomb disposal. She's going to be in heavy gear. She's not going to be showing off a bit of skin while she's prancing around getting covered in blood and stuff.
And actually, the origins of Bombshell goes all the way back to '96, where 3D Realms was originally playing around with the idea of creating a new female protagonist. And that game never came to be. It never came to be more than a few concept pieces of what they would like this character to look like. Eventually, someday after Duke Forever had been released, they wanted to make a new game called Bombshell. So when we started with our Bombshell, we started from scratch. We had the name. We thought it sounded really cool to the story that we were putting together for this character, this game. And then we stumbled upon actually a lot of the original drawings as well.
It's really freaky looking at those drawings because we had no idea what they'd done, and we were starting with like no prior stuff. Yet we both made a female character with a robotic arm. We had no idea that this was like a similarity. I mean, because the stuff that the public had seen of Bombshell in relation to Duke was completely opposite to what it is now. I mean, she was a blonde Bombshell, just the stereotype. And they obviously developed a little bit on themselves, making her have a robotic arm and bomb stuff. So it was really surreal to stumble across that.
It feels almost like when we were, it's not more than a few months ago, we realized how much concept that was actually done for the original mid-90s Bombshell game that was supposed to come out. Almost feels like we've resurrected this very old IP that has been in the treasure chest at 3D Realms, and now we've opened that chest, but we actually created the game before opening the chest. And I was like, wow, they had the same idea. That's pretty cool. It's actually really nice bringing something like that. Exactly. It also kind of confirms that this is indeed a true 3D Realms spirited production.
She does have a lot of attitude, which is the 3D Realms
exactly
kind of thing. One thing I want to mention about Bombshell, most characters you see and play as, they're usually overpowered, very strong, dominant right away, but she starts off as someone who is damaged. If you take her arm away, she's less than the average hero, and it's nice to see someone who has flaws and isn't just automatically capable of every situation. It's good to see depth in there. She has scars, not just on her skin, but on her personality.
I also think like the visual look of her. A lot of people mention, "Oh, she has freckles." You don't see that in overly sexualized characters anymore, where everything needs to be big boobs, completely clean skin. We have freckles, we have scars, there's a lot of imperfections because she needs to look like a human. Of course, she needs to look like a pretty human as well, because you are looking at a video game. It's like Hollywood actors, but she actually looks like she's been through a ton of
down to earth.
Exactly.
Now, Bombshell has a lot of cool weapons, features, special moves, and much more. So please, tell us more about them. For example, I do like the look of Bombshell's robot arm Amiga. That really looks like it could turn the tide in battle quite easily. And especially the bowling bombs, which are pretty much bowling ball bombs, which looked really cool in the trailers I've seen.
Actually, they have some actual bowling bombs around the office. I think Mike has one over there. Doesn't he, Mike? There's some downstairs. Anyways,
there's one Jacob's.
You have some actual bowling bombs. Yeah. So she has three primary weapons or an arsenal, which is the arm itself, which turns itself into 8 different weapons. And then there's the Lover Boy, which is an old trigun. She calls it Lover Boy. It's a 3-barrel hand cannon. It's crazy. And then there's the bowling bombs. So the bowling bombs are Bombshell's personal grenades. They're intelligent. So whenever she throws them, they start rolling. She throws like a bowling bomb, and they start rolling towards enemies and then explode. They can be upgraded. They have their own tech tree, so they can be upgraded 10 levels, and you can unlock different modes. Something like called the heart attack, where that opens up a bomb that shoots out drills that shoot into enemy hearts and then explode from the inside. Something called the hive bomb that turns into tiny little bowling bombs that fly out in all directions and kill enemies, and so on. There's the Lover Boy, which is the hand cannon. That is equipped whenever you use Amiga as a sentry. So basically, Amiga, the arm can jump off walking around by herself. And then Bombshell uses her lover boy in her left hand to shoot off enemies. And then there's the key element of the game, which is the arm itself, Amiga. Bombshell names it Amiga during the game. When she arrives on the first planet away from Earth, she realizes that Amiga actually has an AI. Oh, it's not called Amiga; it doesn't have a name at this point, but it has an AI and it starts talking. It awakens as a very standardized robot that asks Bombshell to specify a name for the arm, and Amiga tells the arm to call itself Amiga and to be female. It's a little easier on the ears, as she says. And then the voice changes and it says, "Hello, I'm Amiga," and then that becomes Bombshell's companion throughout the game, almost like a Cortana to Master Chief in Halo. But the cool thing is that Amiga can turn itself into 8 different weapons. They each have their own tech tree that can turn into 10 different levels. These tech trees is what you use the currency in the game, which you collect from shooting enemies and solving quests and so on. You get Kai, which is an alien currency that you use to buy upgrades for Amiga. And there's a ton of different weapons that Amiga can turn into, something called the Iron Maiden, the Mother Flagger, the PMS, personal missile system. There's the Electrocutioner, there's the Shell Shock. It's a really, really cool thing. And each of these weapons can unlock additional fire modes that turns into new weapons. So there's something called the Electropocalypse for the Electrocutioner. There's something called the Mind Fry. There's something called the Iron Storm. There's like so many different cool things that you can turn the arm weapon into. So that's how there's
a lot of customization of what you can choose, how you want your weapon to be.
Yeah.
But one thing you didn't mention is when a robot arm can jump off, we've put in a lot of puzzles, which basically means you have 2 players you have to use to solve some of these puzzles, which mean, like, say Bombshell can't go through a certain area because it would be hazardous to organic.
Or she's too big. It's like a little
too big. Like, it can go through small places or more dangerous places, or just places where she can't quite reach, but you can always like throw the arm.
Yeah. So the arm, basically, you can take control over your arm. So you simply just right-click, and then the camera shifts over to the arm that walks around like a little spider, and then you can walk into these new areas. And like a great example is in the last world called the Planet Eater. There's a quest where because this world is full of cyborgs and robots, and you're human tissue, once you walk into this little detection chamber, lasers appear. And you have a robot voice that says, human tissue detected, access denied. And what you do is, to solve this quest, spoiler to everyone buying the game, you drop off Amiga, control Amiga, you walk into the same pressure plate, the scanners go down, and then they detect non-tissue, just purely electronic device, and then the lasers turn off, and then you can go through with Amiga, and then you can basically shut down a generator that shuts off the laser grid so Bombshell can go through afterwards. That's one of the examples where you have to use Amiga. Others are pressure plates where you have to place Bombshell on one, Amiga on another. But this is later in the game when you actually upgrade to gain the ability to control Amiga separately. So there's a lot of things there. There's actually a lot of quests also in the start of the game that you can solve when you do your second playthrough, where you hopefully have upgraded Amiga some more.
There's a lot of exploration rewards. Like, you may notice something in your first playthrough, how do I get to that? And then when you have unlocked, whatever is necessary for that, you can always go back and explore a little bit more in those areas, or just generally, there's a lot of secret areas in the game. I mean, in Rise of the Triad, we had so many secrets, and you're bound to find some in this as well.
We have the classic secrets within secrets within secrets. Those are the best kind.
Now, let's discuss the soundtrack of the game. You've got the very talented Andrew Hulshall composing, who, of course, made the awesome heavy metal soundtrack for the old-school shooter reboot Rise of the Triad 2013. And we also like to play his Doom remixes here on the Cyberden as well, and they're brilliant. But anyway, so what kind of music style has Andrew gone for in Bombshell, and what kind of tracks will we be hearing in the game?
Ooh, that's actually probably one of the most exciting parts. The track list is almost 40 tracks right now for the game itself. We have 20 levels, and each level have both action tracks and ambient tracks and so on. But the soundtrack itself is very Hans Zimmer inspired. But the original soundtrack he did for the game sounded like imitations of Hans Zimmer style music. You know the style, the Hollywood, the new Hollywood style you get from Hans Zimmer movies. Then Mad Max came out, and that was also awesome. And then, but basically, Andrew went back and redid a lot of tracks and did a lot of stuff from scratch. So the soundtrack itself is very pumping and unique, and it sounds incredible. That's one of the high notes of the game. There is also like heavy metal pieces that comes in during different action scenes and so on, but it's very unique. It almost has almost kind of a StarCraft feel to some of it, in terms of like classic StarCraft, in terms of you're on one of the worlds where you have this very disturbing music with long weird strings of guitar, and there's another world in the game that has a very Trent Reznor style to it, Nine Inch Nails, very, very disturbing, almost like tormented souls screaming in the background and pulsing. It's almost like the Machine and Flesh fused together style, disturbing music. It's really awesome.
I really admire the atmosphere he's managed to create in this. He's improved so much from coming from his metal background and just dominating everything. Like there's nothing.
It's almost when playing the Rise of Pride soundtrack today, which is amazing. It's like, oh, we wish people could hear what he's doing now, because it's so much better. It's literally you guys would love it, definitely.
You managed to bring 3D Realms back from the grave, you could say. Of course, 3D Realms, back in the 90s, developed and published some classic games. For example, Duke Nukem 3D, Prey, Max Payne, and much more. Now, for some time, 3D Realms, it wasn't really doing much. It was just there, but inactive, you could say. But you made the decision to purchase this gaming monolith from the 80s and 90s. Why so?
So basically from 2009 onwards, 3D Realms laid off its staff, and Gearbox finished Duke Forever. So from then on, 3D Realms existed as a name, and then, of course, Scott and George and a few other employees to keep it running. But there were no long-term plans inside. We were licensed to do a new game for 3D Realms, and then, as you know, 3D Realms were sued. We were sued as well. And then we decided to, or Mike, our investor, decided to acquire 3D Realms to save 3D Realms. They didn't have much of any money left, quite frankly, and it didn't have a staff and so on. But it was simply too important of a company and piece of history to just let go. And we, our company was founded on being fans of 3D Realms. We started by doing the Duke Nukem 3D Reloaded free game that we then later were forced to cancel. We did Rise of Triad, also classic 3D Realms Apogee IP. So the games we've been doing have been 3D Realms games, and it just felt very natural that we want to carry the torch and bring back 3D Realms full force, and that's what we're doing now.
Really great to talk with some of the old 3D Realms guys as well, just like to bring them back, because a lot of them aren't doing like very much these days. And it's just amazing to talk to like Scott Miller and get his input on stuff we're doing today, because there's so much like good experience they have.
I'm a big fan of 3D Realms games myself, and when I heard about this news, I was very, very happy, of course, to see that 3D Realms back from the grave and put in some very capable, talented hands. So I was really happy that you managed to bring 3D Realms back. So
thank you so much.
So anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming to this interview.
Thank you so much for having us, Jake. Anytime.
Anything you'd like to say to all of your fans out there?
Yes. No, I just want to.
Well, I've got something to say.
We each have something to say. Hopefully, it's not the same thing. I just want to say that Bombshell is an extremely personal project for us. We've taken the step that most other independent studios that are not funded by big studios do. many years down the line when they've done, multiple games for other companies as work for hire. Because doing your own IP is the ultimate risk, but it's what we eventually wanted to do. The circumstances we've been in, we thought that doing our own IP now is the best thing we can do, and we've taken a gigantic risk doing that. And I hope that everyone out there who doesn't know about Bombshell yet is really excited about it, because it is a project created of a team of 45 extremely enthusiastic people who all love these types of games, 3D Realms classic games. And for those of you who don't know what to expect from a game like this, because it doesn't look like, it's not a first-person shooter, it's not a Max Payne style, it's completely different. For those of you who does not know what to expect, just, we can promise you this is going to be absolutely awesome. We have a blast playing this thing, and we can't wait to get it into people's hands so they can actually try it themselves. So yeah, I hope that a lot of people will be excited about it, because we're excited, and we're fans. We're fans that established a company, and now we're doing the games we would like to play, and this is one of those games.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to say, again about the type of game it is. We really want to do something different, taking different elements together, and like even just comparing to like the normal genre, you're usually just looking at the floor, and that's all you see. But we wanted to put so much more like depth within the worlds. Like so many of the worlds have so much huge architecture just going down into like bottomless pits, and even the first world is like it's inverted architecture on a planet which is exploded and falling into the sun. So you're seeing bits of that happening all the time, and like we wanted to carry across that explosive environment kind of feel throughout the whole game. So that it's in the scale of like what you experience through it. I'm really happy with the visuals you managed to put through.
Yeah.
In it. So
definitely,
I'm looking forward to see what people think of the game.
Yeah, hopefully they'll love it as much as we do.
And now I would just like to thank my dear listeners out there for tuning in to this great interview on The Cyber Den, your weekly dose of tech and games. See you later, guys. Can't wait for Bombshell's release.
Which is soon, when it's done. We won't go down that path again. No, late this year.
But yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.